individual commitment to a group effort. That is what makes a team work.
Thank you once again for joining us for Behind the Hashes with Coach Ulery, a Overtime Media production presented by Bruns Gutzwiller. Choose Bruns Gutzwiller for your next construction project. Coach, you got a motley-looking crew on here this evening, and man, I can't wait to get at it. Looking forward to hearing from these young men.
I am too. You know, I'm so proud of all of them, really am. And they've had some of these guys, obviously 4 of them seniors, have been great leaders in our building, obviously on the football field and in the wrestling. They've had some great careers. And one of them actually decided to wrestle this year, which was a good decision for him. And then obviously we got a freshman that's definitely a rising star on the mat as well. So just really, really happy for all five of these guys and what they did this year. And obviously we'll talk about another wrestler as well, not in the football program, but also did a really great job as well. So, I'm just getting excited to talk to all these guys, and I know they're pretty excited again for their opportunities coming up here on Saturday.
All right. So, Coach, right off the top, I just got to get this question out here. And I really want everybody that it applies to answer this. How has wrestling helped your football career, or vice versa? How has football helped your wrestling career?
I actually started wrestling in 7th grade because of football. My dad's like, yeah, it'll make you a better football player. I always wanted to be good at football, so I said I'll give it a try. And then turned out I'm all right at it. So that's why I started.
I've always done both. I started them both when I was little. But, wrestling always contributes to being able to, for me on defense, which everybody gives me crap all the time. I probably wasn't best DB. But it always helped you stay control of the guy in front of you. Or even like AK out in the back, being able to tackle everybody. I say wrestling helps a lot with tackling.
First year wrestling, and I didn't really get to play wrestle at the same time.
Well, I started kind of similar with Max in 7th grade. My dad was like, "You're getting fat. You got to do something to get a little skinnier." So he put me on a wrestling mat, and it really helped a lot with my balance and getting me a little better condition for football.
Now, Carson, I know it's your first year as a wrestler at the high school level. What's that been like?
It's been definitely harder competition and more serious than what it has been in the past. Because it's been more serious than when I was younger. I just wrestled for the fun of it, but now it's you got to try to advance and move on, try to make it to semi-state and even state and all that.
Yeah, one of the things, again, I'm curious, guys, and you guys can kind of chime in. And I've got a little bit of a wrestling background, and I know, obviously football, you got 10 other teammates out there, 11 opponents. Wrestling, man, it's you, right? It's you one-on-one. So maybe if you guys, talk about maybe the similarities, but obviously I think there are some differences, just kind of like the mindset, with wrestling and the difference compared to football.
Everybody always says it's kind of a team sport. Obviously, to an extent, you can say it is, but mostly it helps a lot with you being able to control yourself, because obviously you're out there on your own. You can't blame nothing else on nobody else. It's just you out there with the opponent. So I feel like with wrestling, you can just work on yourself. So you know what you want to do, and you don't have to really communicate as much to be able to do it.
Yeah, I agree with Dance there. You can't really blame anybody else when it's just you on the wrestling mat. So during football, you might be able to blame a teammate, but in wrestling, it's no one to blame but yourself.
I still blame Max sometimes.
Yeah, it's hard. I can't blame Dance for getting torched now.
Come on, David. You ain't got to take that, man. Carson, let me ask you in that same vein, just about the mindset. When you talked about it being a lot more serious now, but when you're on the mat and it's just you and your opponent, what goes through your mind?
Really, when I'm on the mat, I'm just thinking about how I can score points on this opponent. So, I'm just thinking from the start of the match and when I'm going, like, what can I do to, score the first points or try to get on the board so I could just, set a tone right away.
Good. Hey, to feed off that, Carson, and this is really for all of you guys. I mean, I know wrestling's got a couple changes in the rules, right? I mean, they went to now 3-point takedown. I think now they got a 4-point near fall. Maybe you guys want to talk about, has that changed any of your guys, your approach on the mat in this year?
Yeah, it definitely did for me because the way I wrestle, I wrestle loud, so I wrestle fast, and I'm more of an offensive and aggressive guy. I'm pushing to be able to get the first move, like Carson said, or anything to advance and set the tone in the match. So I'm really loud. I like being the one to push for everything. So I'd always get takedowns, and when the when I heard that the rule actually changed, I was upset because I was going for records at the high school. Because the matches can end a lot faster because of a tech fall, and so you really have to strategize more. And I think, reading about it, they do it because they want to see more people get takedowns and being aggressive more.
Max, do you feel like that's kind of played a big piece for you? I mean, with heavyweights and
I would say not as much as Dance's case, but I feel like just because it escapes from 1 point, it's kind of it makes like an escape like less useful. You want more of a takedown. So I feel like it's kind of it's not really affecting me too much this year, I don't think.
Okay.
I like the new 3-point takedown because I've always been really good for my feet. I mean, I've been all right from bottom and on top, but I like wrestling on my feet the best. So 3-point takedown was something that I really liked.
Carson, I'm going to stick with you just for a second. I mean, you talked a little bit about kind of the adjustment, I think, going from up to high school. And I've got to ask, I mean, I've seen, you've had the kid from Rushville. You guys have had a lot of battles. I don't know. You guys have wrestled, 4 or 5 times this year. Kind of talk about, like, I mean, I guess maybe the adjustments that you make, now with the familiarity with these opponents, and you're probably getting more experience and, and a lot of the invites and meets that you've had.
Yeah. Against the Rushville kid, I just had to adjust to, like, I was more of, like, just attacking right off the bat. I kind of had to get a little bit better defense against him. So I just had to, adjust overall after wrestling people so many times, is that they just get used to, like, what you're doing. So you kind of just have to, still stay the same, but maybe change up a thing or two throughout the season.
So, I mean, Max, I got to ask you, I mean, not to look too far ahead. I mean, obviously you've got, obviously won regionals, which congratulations on that. That was big for you. And so if I look at it right, if I did my research right, you take care of business in round 1, you've got a potential rematch with either of those kids, right?
Yeah. So I have a freshman from Alexandria Monroe first round. So I should go take care of business there. And then my second round, I wrestled both of the kids at Connorsville. So it'd be nice having familiar opponents. That way I kind of know the wrestling styles, and I can watch film against them because I already have the film for both of them. So It's kind of a little bit of advantage, I think. So
yeah,
pretty good.
And you're kind of at a spot too. I think, obviously you guys all have your weight classes, but heavyweight can be one, man, that you could have a large fluctuation in body types, right? So, I mean, I guess between those two, I don't really know, like, is there a vast difference between those two kids that you may potentially see in the second round?
Yeah, both those kids that I could see in the second round, they're both like 220, so they're like bottom of the weight class, and they have different wrestling styles than most other heavyweights. So it's pretty unfamiliar to see, but they're both really good competition. So
Good.
I'll just see how it goes.
I know with Max, I mean, you've been there, done that, but for some of you other guys, have you even let your mind think what it would be like to make it to state?
I think it'd be pretty cool. I don't know how well I'd do in state since being my first year.
I've thought about it a little bit. I think I got a pretty big ladder to climb going against a 1 seed first round, but it would be pretty cool to get there.
Now, Max, you're in a spot. I think if obviously we don't want to get too far ahead, but you win your first two, you punch your ticket again to the state. Be what, the second kid only in school history to go to state twice. Is that correct?
That's correct. Yeah.
I mean, we're rooting for you big time, man. So take care of that business and keep doing that. But I'm going to spin back a little bit. AK. So I gotta ask, what was the change of flip of I finally am gonna wrestle this year? What bet did you lose? What happened to force you to
Well, I made that with Dance last year that if he wins his match, I don't know what it was, to go to semi-state or one or the other, that I'd wrestle. And then I wasn't going to, but then I went to the Russell meet, and Dance kind of just convinced me to wrestle.
I don't know if AK said it, but he used to wrestle in youth, and my dad actually coached him back when he was in youth. And we were just talking about trying to get more guys on the team, and AK losing that bet last year for me to get my ticket to semi-state as a 1 seed. I just wanted to see him, and AK super athletic, so I knew he'd be able to contribute and be able to get the rhythm of wrestling again, and obviously he has, so glad to see it.
Jones, how do you feel like the experience for you, going to semi-state last year, has kind of helped you maybe this year as you've kind of navigated through the season?
Well, last year I was really, really nervous going to semi-state. I remember Max's sophomore year, there were 4 mats down there and probably 1,000 people in the stands, and it was a pretty big jump from regionals with probably 3 times as many teams. But going into it this year, I've been there before. It's not really that big of a deal anymore, and just trying to make the next step.
Good deal. Carson, I mean, does it kind of, I mean, you're in a situation where you got 4 teammates that are going to semi-state. I think this is the second year in a row, 5 guys, which was a school record, which is phenomenal. Do you feel I guess, does it help you being in the wrestling room, Carson, as a freshman, and you have a handful of seniors, and I know Adam Brewer too, who's also going to semi-state? Does that kind of ease your nerve a little bit as you head into Newcastle on Saturday?
Yeah. There's really nothing to lose at this point from how far I've made it, so I might as well just go out there and give it everything I have, and knowing that I have teammates there to, help me out.
Good. No, I got to ask, because I think you got a kid from Cathedral who's a freshman, and I know you've wrestled and done a lot of things through youth and everything. I mean, do you have any familiarity with this kid at all?
Yeah, I've seen him wrestle a few times, but I haven't wrestled him. I know he's a pretty good wrestler, so I'm going to have to go out there and just give it my all.
Talk about that, just because I guess, when we talk about football, obviously we have film, we have Huddle. You guys got it right there on your phone. I guess this would be kind of news probably to a lot of listeners is, what does that look like now for you guys? What access do you guys have to kind of break down an opponent, and what's out there? What's out there for you guys to use?
So there's a lot of different apps that I'd imagine, but we found an app by Coach Brewer. It's called Mat Boss, and I'd say it's honestly easier to get through. It's easier than Huddle. It goes right there. You can get to each player's stats on the team. It's not really open to find anybody that you've wrestled before. as in like the guys going to semi-state. You can't really find somebody from other schools, but you have every single one of your matches that you've wrestled this year, or even say a teammate wrestled that person, you can see it. But there's there's websites online to be able to go to do that, but we use MapBoss to be able to watch our own stuff.
Gotcha.
I think like teams from like bigger schools, it's easier to find their like highlights and stuff to find their own film. But like small schools, it's almost impossible to find like any video on anybody. So yeah.
Max, you bring up big school, small school. Do you? I guess sometimes people, if they don't know, obviously wrestling is a one class sport, right? You guys wrestle everybody, right?
Yeah.
Do you guys? I mean, do you see? Is there possible advantages, disadvantages? I guess being at a small school, we're kind of middle of the road compared to some of these bigger schools. Do you see that there might be some things that are kind of a disadvantage that some people may not even really think of?
I'd say it can be more of a disadvantage for them if, say, we're wrestling a big school like these guys will have to. You can obviously find them easy, like Max said, but them really not being able to find us or see anything on us unless we've posted it ourselves, it really gives us an advantage because we can see what kind of wrestler they are, and we can use the guys in our room to help each other wrestle like they do, and actually like we do in football to prep all year or all week. So I'd say it gives us more of an advantage, but it's kind of a disadvantage in some ways too, because if we're wrestling a small school, it doesn't really help you.
I think one advantage would be like some of the really big schools, they'll have like every single wrestler be at semi-state, like in the tournament still. So it just seems like you're still a team sport instead of just an individual sport. So there's only five of us, but there's like 12 of them in some of the bigger schools. So they're almost a whole team still.
Yeah. Do you feel like, and I guess a lot of these bigger schools too, like compared to you guys, I mean, a lot of times when you guys practice, right, you got to have a partner. Do you feel like that kind of makes it kind of a challenge, for you guys at all? Max, I mean, I don't know if there's many guys your size, right? I mean, maybe you guys can kind of speak on that.
Yeah, I mean, it's always a disadvantage with us barely making us to be able to have our 14 guys to fill out all our weight classes. It's like we're wrestling the same guys every day. It's like you're wrestling the same guys every day, so you can't really get new looks. So like all the heavier guys really wrestle each other. We all are pretty good about circling around. I don't really know how Carson does with the lower weights, how they always go around, but I'd say all of us heavier weights wrestle around with each other. So we have different looks, but it's usually kind of the same. So where you get used to wrestling the same way every time, and I'd say it's a disadvantage compared to these big schools that have 40 kids on it and they have a fresh body every time they wrestle.
Yeah.
I've wrestled Max probably 1,000 times between the last 2 years, and I can say it does get pretty exhausting.
Yeah, I can agree with that.
Yeah. Well, Jones, I'm just happy you're not hitting and injuring guys as much this year. I mean, if you want to allude and share some stories of you were kind of the partner that no one wanted to have, is this correct?
Still don't.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Do we want to share the names of and maybe the injury report that Andrew Jones has inflicted in the wrestling program?
I may have had 1,000 this year.
That's not my fault. That's your noses.
He likes to beat up the Krekeler boys. He likes to go after both of them.
Jones, tell him about Damien Krekeler.
I don't know what you're talking about. I mean, I might have broken Damien Krekeler's nose at one point.
The first day of practice.
The first day of practice. The first time I ever wrestled him in the first 30 seconds of our match.
This was last year, right, when he decided?
Yeah, I think so.
I think you kind of ran him out of the room, but
he came back.
He did come back, right, and he brought his brother with him. So, I was had to tease you because you definitely have had quite the run there.
Bruins Guts Willer is the right choice for your next construction project. We strive to deliver unparalleled service to our clients by focusing on craftsmanship and quality. Our core values of integrity, professionalism, and fair pricing all but ensures our clients receive the best possible experience. Whether it's commercial construction, remodeling an existing space, or even building a luxurious home, we offer a comprehensive suite of construction management services. So before you break ground, give us a call at 812-934-2105. Bruins Guts Willer, building a better future for Southeastern Indiana for over 100 years.
So one of the things I'd ask you again for all of you is, what's your guys's, do you have any like pre-match like routine rituals that you kind of go through? I know we got into football, you guys got your music, you got your thing, but like, I'm just curious, what does that kind of look like, for each of you?
I personally don't do much before a match. I just get warmed up and go out there and see what happens.
Yeah, I mean, it's a lot different. The environment's always fun in wrestling, but it's nothing like a pre-warm up for a football game from Friday nights. It's most of the time I feel like with most wrestlers, like myself, I'll listen to some upbeat music to get me up and going. But there's not much really to do. The only kind of traditions we have is we, like, right before we go to a match, we'll help a teammate get ready. But other than that, I don't really think we do much to ritual-wise.
Coach Smith always says if you're sweaty, you're ready. But I'm not the type of guy. I'm normally just get my legs a little bit loose and I go out there. I'm kind of no music type of guy. No music, just go out there open-minded. So
Yeah, it's hard to try to get sweaty when you're trying to do it. It's like you can't do it at all. But
especially at these big tournaments, like semi-state you'll get there you'll start warming up like 8:30 and then I won't wrestle till like noon. So it seems like you just gotta try to stay warm throughout the day. So
yeah, sometimes it's hard to even warm up at most places. Even it's a lot better at like conference and sectionals when it's local. But once you get farther away, they get really strict about where you can be at what times. So like I remember semi-state last year in the bowl, it was crowded. You wasn't allowed down by the mats, and you had to try and warm up at the top. And there was people standing at the top, so you had no room to really warm up or get sweaty before a match.
Let me ask this question, Max. What's the most weight you had to cut before a match?
I've never had to cut a single pound for wrestling. It's pretty nice.
Man, you heavyweights, y'all got it made, man. What about you, Jones?
Well, coming off football season, I was sitting around 240, and I had to get down to 215 in about a week or two.
Shut up.
Yeah.
You make it?
No, I did not. Well, I kind of did. So the first invitational I got there, I was about 5 pounds over.
Yeah.
So I ran for like 2 hours, and then I get there to weigh in, and I was 0.1 over the 215, and then I couldn't wrestle.
Oh, my goodness. Dang. What about it, Dan?
I mean, I've had to cut some weight. Nothing like Jones. The beginning of this year, I was sitting between 170 to 175, so I didn't really have to cut much weight. But I like to make sure I'm under, so I dropped down to about 160 at the beginning. But other than that, I cut a couple pounds during practice that I just cut, and the night before I just make sure I know what I eat and watch it, so I don't really have to cut very much.
So what's your walk around weight?
Walking around, I usually weigh 167,
Okay.
168.
Okay. AK?
Yeah, I was weighing about 205 at the end of the fall. I had to cut to 190. So it wasn't as bad as Jones, but
Yeah.
and I'm sitting about 185 right now.
Well, Jones, what do you walk around? What's your walk around?
Well, here recently, I've been sitting around 219 throughout the day.
Yeah.
But we got that 2 pound allowance now, so I'm gaining a little extra weight now.
All right, Carson. Had to cut a lot before?
No, not really. Only probably
Or did you have to gain a lot?
Yeah.
You have to cut or gain?
Well, I was good on weight until I got sick, and then I lost a decent amount of weight. So then now I'm trying to gain it back.
So a bunch of peanut buttered sandwiches, huh?
Yeah.
Max, what's your walk around?
Like 258.
385.
Little judge.
Oh, goodness.
Hey, we bring up sickness. Dance, we're going to take the elephant out of the room. Obviously, feel for you. Like I told you, heartbroken for you, man, and kind of how it all ended. I guess, one, how are you doing? And two, maybe just kind of give a little bit background, obviously, of how the season ended for you.
I feel a lot better now. I still feel weak. I don't feel like I have all my strength back yet, but it's coming back. I'm still on medicine that I take 4 times a day, but it really started the week after sectional. I wasn't feeling too good at sectionals, but I missed a day at last week from the same sickness, and I was having some pains, and then I got off work Friday night to come home, go to bed for the meet, and I was all excited and everything, and tried going to bed. I didn't really feel good, so I was watching it for a little while, and then I was having some pretty bad pains that I really couldn't handle. So I got my mom up, and I told her we needed to go to the hospital, and I was in the hospital till about 4 a.m. They put some IVs and a bunch of different medicines in me to help me with the pain. And I finally got some scans in, and they made sure I was all good. And I made it home about somewhere after 4, and they gave me some kind of medicine that pretty well put me to sleep till Monday. I'd wake up for about a half hour to take my medicine when I needed to, and I was back asleep.
Man.
Yeah, feel for you, man. I was a senior, and obviously had a really great career. Someone that I know that played a big piece, I think, in this program, really lifting up, and I think you did it. You did it the right way, and just unfortunately, just bad timing. But we love you, man, and you did a great. You definitely represented the program very, very well, and with that. And I think that kind of asked me too, I guess, with 4 of you guys being seniors, and my next question is, you guys have, if I'm correct, you guys have had 3 head coaches, right? In your time?
Yes.
Yep.
So, kind of talk about, obviously, and you've had all this as individually, but even as a program. Maybe kind of talk about how all 3 of those coaches have kind of the impact that they've had on you guys, and maybe also the challenges that's kind of presented for you guys over your course of high school.
I think overall it's kind of rough at the start to have different coaches as much, because you're trying to build these relationships in the wrestling room. But the coaches that we have had as head coach, even with Coach Smith now, they've been around the program. So starting with Coach Miller, he's still here now. But Coach Linkle has always been around with us, and Coach Smith even helped with football. So it kind of made it easier on us to have a relationship, I feel like, for me at least. But it's definitely rough to adjust to the way that they coach and run the program in practice and even in tournaments.
Yeah, I agree with Dance there. I don't think this is much of a change as like another sport where there's more like plays going on, but I feel like if it's a football, you have a different head coach. It matters more because they're just like all just like plays and stuff. But in wrestling, it's like not as big of a deal to have a different head coach. I don't think so. I feel like it was a little easier transition.
Jones, anything?
Kind of agreeing with what Dan said. Coach Smith was around last year a lot, and Coach Linkle was around before he took over when Coach Miller was coaching. So I've been able to kind of build those relationships before they took over. So I thought that made it a lot easier, kind of like what Dan said. But yeah, like it doesn't really change as much in terms of how you wrestle. But the practices have been like completely different from Coach Miller to Coach Linkle to now. Like completely different setups, completely different drills. But overall, it's been manageable.
I'm definitely happy we don't do the card game no more.
Yeah.
We'll do the card game.
So I guess, I mean, guys, what do you, obviously all four of you guys are seniors. Sorry, 4 of the 5 of you are seniors. What do you feel as you guys kind of graduate and this kind of comes to the end? I guess, have you kind of really taken a step back of maybe really the impact you guys have had on this program and kind of what you're leaving behind?
I guess I can say mine kind of started early, unfortunately. But I really didn't think much of what I was impacting. Is I was trying to become more in the program and just become better to help my teammates and even myself progress like these guys are fortunately able to do. But I think now that I'm still around. I haven't been this past week, but I'm still around the wrestling a little bit. But I've definitely had the chance to sit back and see what I've done and other people have told me I've done for the program. So I definitely think it came early for me. So I don't know how everybody else feels, but I think it's settled in a little.
Well, I don't think I've quite settled in that it's almost over yet, but I think I'll be there in a few weeks. So, But I think as of right now, I think I like seeing you guys come into the room. So I feel like when I started my freshman year, the team was pretty small, and every year I feel like it's got a little bit bigger in the room. So I feel like it's a nice thing to have. Just more kids in the room to wrestle.
And it just seems like from what I've seen and I gather, like in my time being here, it just seems like we get more and more kids that are involved down at the middle school that I think are not just doing it, but I think are invested in wanting to do it moving forward, right? It seems like, you hear these kids, and I'll say this to you, and maybe you hear it from some of them, but it's like, there's those guys, they want to be the next Damien Dance, right? They want to be the next Max Amberger, so it's like, I think you guys have done a really good job of, I think, again, you represent the football program at a very high level, and obviously they see on the mat you've done an outstanding job, doing that. I think one of the questions, last question really I have here, Terrence, and we'll get to is like, other than obviously Max, I got to ask you guys, I always tell people the best state finals to ever attend is wrestling. Hands down, I've been to multiple sports state finals. Have you guys witnessed, I'm just curious, witnessed the state finals, like the Saturday night in person? I have to ask you.
I have not. Last year we went up for Friday, but to watch Max wrestle, but we had to head back that night, so I didn't get a chance to see the Saturday night stuff.
Yes.
So no one?
I've been there. I think it's pretty amazing. This atmosphere is just crazy there. It's a full house and a big stadium, and it's just a great environment. It's pretty amazing to be a wrestling unit.
So Dub, I hear you say you have. You want to explain, because I think, Terrence, have you been there? I have to ask, have you been?
No, sir.
I'm going to put this on you, Dub, and maybe Max can jump in too, but like, explain to the listeners, like, what does the state finals, the championship round, what does that look like?
Well, so usually me and my dad will go every year and we'll watch, like the first couple of rounds, but we usually don't stay till the very end. We usually leave because there's like breaks in between. So we usually leave, go home, and we'll have people over, and then we'll finish off watching it on the TV.
Yeah. Max, anything you want to add?
Well, last year was my first year being at the actual finals, but it was in Evansville, which is different than normal. Normally it's in Indianapolis, but I feel like Evansville is a good place to have it at because I don't know, the whole gym's dark, and then there's like smoke show and flames going up. It's a great environment, and it'd be cool to wrestle at. So.
I remember I coached wrestling one year, and I went down, and my wife, was big into wrestling, so it was kind of nice. We went out for a date and got to go watch wrestling all day. So and have a nice dinner down in Indianapolis, and it's just such a great setup. It really is. And I tell people I love football. I've been to the state finals for basketball, baseball, and I was like, but I'm telling you, if you've not been to the state finals for wrestling, it is by far the best done state finals event. And it is by far the most exciting state final. They turn the lights out. They put the spotlight there in the middle of the mat. They get the big intros, and you get 14 just really good matches. And most people forget, right, like that the Midwest, right, and Indiana and all that, the Big Ten is king when it comes to wrestling, right? Like it's like everyone talks about the SEC with football, which really the Big Ten's kind of started to take a little shift there, right?
Easy. Slow down.
Jones, right, with your Wolverines last year and then the Buckeyes this year. But but most people will say the Big Ten is king, right? And I think they forget about that. We're in a basketball state, but I say again, I know I may catch a little bit of grief. The best state finals is the wrestling state finals in the state of Indiana. And if you haven't gone, got to go. And then hopefully, we get some of you guys there. And then Max, obviously you got a pretty good situation. Hopefully we get you back there and be the first one since Mike Daly to be time. So, but yeah, really excited for you guys. Really am, in what you've done this year and over your careers. So, I think, Terrence, the only thing we got to finish with, right, is the ultimatum.
Yeah, I just wanted to let these gentlemen know, obviously, thanks so much for the time coming on, sharing and talking. Guys, listen, I wish you a measure of success coming up here this weekend in your events, in your individual matches. Coach said it best. You guys have shown yourselves well on the football field. There is no doubt in my mind you take that same injury out on the mat and show what a Bulldog can do. Yeah. Y'all go get them this weekend, man.
Yeah. So we're going to end the show. We got to throw a little shout out. Max, AK, CYO basketball, right? Champions.
Oh, yeah.
You guys were the champions, right? And you're on the championship team. So here we are. And I know we don't have I was hoping maybe we could get Brewer in here so we could have like a little 3-on-3 pick me up. So first off, I got to ask AK, who's better, you or Max at basketball?
I am.
That's crazy.
Okay. All right. So Max, I'm going to give you. So we're gonna act as if we've got Brewer with us, so we can have a little 3-on-3 action with the wrestlers, the basketball, which is quite the sight to see when you see wrestlers playing basketball. But Max, you get first pick. All right, you're going to get first pick. You got Jones, Dance, Dub, Brewer. Who you taking on your team?
Well, I can't get AK?
No, because he's on the other team. You guys are captains, man. I'm sorry.
Well, my last pick is definitely Brewer Jones because that would be the worst players ever.
Oh, yeah, you get first pick. You taking Dance?
Yeah, I'm taking Dance first pick.
Okay, AK. So who you taking?
Give me Dub.
Okay, give you Dub. And I'm gonna let you get the next one because we got to snake this.
That's a tough choice, AK.
It's still crazy.
You got Dub and who?
Jones.
So then that means Brewer. Okay, so now the ultimatum is I got to ask, okay, is who's winning this game? Max, you got to give me a pitch. How are you winning this game? This pick me up 3-on-3 basketball game. You've got Dance, you got Brewer against AK, Dub, and Jones.
Well, I got Dance guarding AK. He's locked. and I'm guarding Jones, and I can put Dub on Brewer, or I got Brewer on Dub, which Brewer can play some good defense, but not a great ball handler. So I'm just gonna have Dance feed me in the paint. I'll put up like 20 points, and then I'll be good to go. So.
AK, you gotta come back. So how are you guys getting the job done?
I'll tell you right now, Dance ain't locking me up.
That's cap.
Amby's not going to be able to score in the paint because James is like 6'3" and Amby's like 5'8". There. Me and Dub put up the shots. James gets the rebounds. Brewer's not going to guard Dub either. He might fall over his own feet.
So, what are we playing to? Like, what
20,
are we?
21.
24 by 3.
2s and 3s?
We should play first point. We get the ball.
How long is it going to take for you guys to get to 24 points?
Longest game in history.
Pack a lunch.
All right. Well, hey, we may have to get this down at some point and video it because I'm sure people would love to see 6 wrestlers, 3-on-3 basketball. But hey, I wanted to congratulate you guys, CYO champs, right? I mean, representing on the hardwood too. So. But, hey, I really do appreciate it, guys, you taking the time. I'm really proud of all of you and everything you've done to represent the community and in the wrestling program.
This has been Beyond the Hashes with Coach Evan Ulery. Special thanks goes out to Bronze Gutswiller, the right choice for your next construction project. Be sure to join us again next week. Until then, go Dogs.